Hey guys, in this video we'll be discussing triggers in SQL Server 2017. Now, a trigger in database development is pretty much a procedure that automatically runs when an event occurs, and an event is usually like an insert, an update, or a delete action on a table. Of course, you can define which one of them you want to actually carry out an action on, and that's what we'll be doing in this video. So to create a trigger, we would go into our database, go into the tables listing, and then find the table that we would like a trigger on. So for this video, I'm going to create a trigger on the students table. So let's build a scenario. Each time a student is added, we want to automatically add an enrollment for that student. And if we check out the enrollments, well, let's check out the courses. So remember that we have a few courses, and let's say every student who gets enrolled in the school will be automatically enrolled into the HTML course. All right. So then in the enrollments table, what we have is the teacher ID with the course ID. So we know teacher 2 teaches course 1. And we can find the details of teacher 2 easily by just looking at who teacher 2 is. And that's John McDonald. So John McDonald teaches HTML. And well, he has more than one student, or more than one students are doing HTML with John McDonald. So every time a student gets added, by default, we expect that there will be some enrollment into the HTML class with John McDonald, and even if their grade is null, but that enrollment must take place. Now, there are two options. You could try to create some complex insert statement where every time you insert a student, then you try to put it in there. Or what we can do is create a trigger on the students table such that on insert of a student, we will just create the enrollment. So that's where a trigger comes into play. So what I'm going to do is go to my students table, expand it, and then you'll see the folders that says triggers. And if you expand it, there are no triggers attached, so I can just right click and click new trigger, which brings up a template file for the creation of a trigger. Now, if you've been doing functions and stored procedures, you would be kind of familiar with this template, and you'd know that you firstly replace everything in the angle bracket with whatever is suggested. So it firstly says the schema name. What is the schema name? The schema would be by default DBO. So I'll just replace schema name with DBO. And then the trigger name would be create enrollment. And then we go on to say on. So on, and then we say schema name once again. So we would say DBO. And then the table name, which is courses, or well, sorry, students. So we want to create the trigger, create enrollment on the table, students. And then we want to say we want it to happen after. And then they're suggesting insert, update, delete. So based on the scenario we're working with, it would be on insert. Now, to continue this trigger, we insert the statements for the trigger. And remember that what we're doing is creating a new enrollment based on the ID of our newly created student and, well, other predetermined values. So I can go ahead and do my insert into statement, and that will be insert into, and I'll just say dbo.enrollments. And then we specify the columns. Based on the operation that you're defining the trigger for, you have access to 3 specialized tables. So we have insert in this scenario. So we have access to a table called inserted. If we did a delete operation, then we would have access to deleted. And just in the same way, if we did an update operation, we would have access to a table called updated. So because we're doing an inserted, what happens is that the inserted table now tracks all of the values that would have just been literally inserted into our DBO students. Since the value we need from the inserted row is the ID, then I need a way to get the ID to capture it so that I can go ahead and create the enrollment. Now, what I'm going to do is firstly declare some variable, and I'm calling it student ID, and I'm clearing it as an int. And then I can select the value into student ID from the inserted table. So I can always do something like select star from inserted. So that would actually give me just the row, all the rows for what was just inserted, including the ID value. Since I don't really need star, what I need is just student ID, then I can assign the value from the inserted table for the ID for the newly inserted value into my scalar variable called student ID. So I'm going to say select assign student ID is equal to, and then the ID column coming from the inserted table. So just to put that into context, anything I need from, remember that this trigger is being called as soon as an insert occurs. So once something is inserted, and I'll just modify the object view so we can see all the columns, we would have inserted last name, first name, date of birth, and enrollment date. And then the ID gets created upon insertion. So in this trigger, once I call my inserted table, then I have access to the ID and all the values that were just inserted into the equation, all right, into the students table. So then what I'm doing here is I just really need the ID, because to create an enrollment, the only thing that the students table really has for me to use for an enrollment is the student ID anyway. So all I need is the student ID. So I'm declaring a variable called student ID, and then I'm selecting the ID value from the inserted table, and I'm placing that inside of my newly defined scalar variable. Now that I have that variable or that value, then I can do my insert into, and I'll just say dbo.enrollments, and then the columns to be inserted in, which are last name, enrollment. So that would be course ID, which we know is going to be 2, grade, which we know is going to be null. And remember that it doesn't really matter what order we put them in. So I know all the values. The only variable value here is really the student ID, because I don't know what the ID is when a student is inserted. But I do know which course they're going to do, and I do know who they're going to do it with, right? So insert into dbo.enrollments, the course by ID, grade, which is going to be null, student ID, which we want to be whatever ID is associated with the student who is just inserted, and the teacher ID. And then I'll say values. And then the values, once again, would be 1 for HTML. The grade is null because, well, they're just enrolled, so they can't have a grade. And then @ student ID. So whatever value is taken from the inserted table for that newly inserted student, that's the student ID value. And then the teacher ID would be 2, because we know that it's John McDonald who will be teaching that course. And then once we've done all of that, we would have completed all of the steps required to create this trigger. Now I can click execute, which will actually create the trigger. So if I go back to my students table and refresh the triggers folder, then I will see my trigger listed under there as create enrollment. Now, once again, this will be fired upon an event. So what I'm going to do is do something like, I'm going to create a new query window. I'm going to use school, and I actually have a stored procedure somewhere here that allows me to insert a new student. So I'm just going to call my stored procedure using the exec keyword, and you can always check out my video on stored procedures if you're not entirely sure what I'm about to do. So this stored procedure, insert student, will insert a new student with the last name Willis, the first name Brian, and a date of birth of 2001-08-12. All right, 2001. And then once I execute this, it is saying that I have incorrect syntax because I need my commas. Sorry about that. And I'll execute again. Oh, I left off a variable, so I need an output variable called at student ID. So once again, if any of this looks foreign to you, you can always check out my video on stored procedures where I actually go through all of this. But for now, I'm just going to declare some variable called student ID int. So you really didn't need to use a store procedure. You could have used a regular insert statement to insert into the table. That's no problem, but I already have the store procedure, so I'm just doing it the shortcut way. And then I click execute again, and now we see that the command is successfully completed. Now the assumption is that once something is inserted into our students table, then automatically, based on our trigger that we just defined, something should get inserted into our enrollments table. So I'm going to go over to my enrollments table, and I'm going to do another execute. And there we see that we had 17 rows before, now we have 18. We have a new enrollment with a new student with student ID 19, and this course ID 1 and the teacher ID 2. And if we just take a look at student with the ID 19, and I just go over, let me just select top 1000 from students, then we see that Brian Willis was indeed entered. He does have the student ID 19, and our trigger acted upon the insertion action, because I said after insert. So after a new student is inserted, then I want you to get the ID for that newly inserted student and then do an enrollment. Now, this is one use case. A more practical use case would be maybe for auditing. So, you want to keep a log of what student or what data may have been removed from your database, added to the database, updated, and especially by whom. So a good use case of triggers is that once a table has been updated, or records in a table have been updated, removed, or added, then we add a trigger to that table to say I want to insert into some form of log table that this happened at this time. All right, so that's a more practical use case. Bear in mind, however, that triggers are kind of expensive, meaning that they can be resource intensive. They can slow down the operation of a database, especially in a setting where large amounts of data are being passed through and large number of operations are being conducted. So I'm going to do another trigger, and this trigger now is going to actually say that if a student is deleted, then I want to remove all the enrollments that student would have had in the system. So I'm doing this for example's sake. It's not necessarily best use cases, but just so that we can understand what triggers are capable of. So I'm just going to right click again and say new trigger, and then I'll go ahead and put in DBO for my schema name, and I'll do that. I'll just copy and paste that and do it quickly for both spaces that require schema name. The trigger name will be delete student records, and it will be based on the students table once again. And then it will be after a delete. So remember, we can do it on insert, update, or delete. So this time it's a delete. So after a delete of a student, then I want to carry out this operation. And the operation I intend to carry out will need me to get the ID of the student that was just deleted. So we can do something similar. I can declare some scalar variable, and I'm going to call it stu ID this time, just so you can see that it doesn't necessarily have to be the same name. So stu ID, and then I'm going to select the value for stu ID to be equal to the ID value coming from, and this time the table we're looking to is deleted, because this is a delete action. So I'm getting the data from some temporary table called deleted. Now that I have that value, I'm going to say delete from enrollments where, and then I'm going to say where the student ID is equal to @stu_ID. So I delete a student, any subject that the student would have been enrolled in, the expectation is that it's going to be deleted. Now there's one kind of adjustment I will need to make to my current design, and that is around the foreign key constraints. So I will have to go back to my students table, go to design, go to relationships, and then I'm going to have to modify the relationship that the students and the enrollments table have. And this modification is going to be, well, the name of it is called cascading. So I'm going to drop down the insert and update specification, and then I'm going to define rules for delete and update. So, well, really for delete. So you see here that it says no action. And what this means is that if I try to remove a student, then I can't remove the student as long as they have enrollments, right? Because that value is needed for reference in the enrollments table. So what this is really going to do is say that when a student is deleted, or the primary key in a relationship is being deleted, do I want to cascade, meaning all the related values for this primary key in all the other tables should get deleted also? Or do I want to just set null, meaning the enrollment will stay, but then the value, if it was 1, it will now become null? Or do I want to set some form of default value? So in this case, I'm going to just say cascade, because I did say I want to remove the student's records. So that I'm just doing this so you can see that, one thing affects the other. So by saying cascade and then clicking close and then saving, what I'm saying is that if I delete a student, then if it has a relationship with the enrollment table, I expect that all related records should also get deleted with no worries. All right. So having done that, I didn't save. So I need to execute so that we actually create this trigger. And I'm just going to refresh my triggers folder just to make sure it's there. So I have delete student records. And then I'm going to keep this one simple. So I'm just going to go to the design, and I'm going to, not design, I'm going to edit top 200, my bad. And I'm going to cross-reference this with whatever enrollments I know I have. So I'm going to just close some of these windows. All right, so in my enrollments, I see here that student 3 is in 3 courses, which means that if I remove student 3, or in 4 courses rather, the expectation is that if I remove student 3, then all 4 of these enrollment records should also be deleted. Now, once again, it doesn't have to be a stored procedure. It can be through any method that I'm going to remove a student. So I'm just going to remove Jody McIntosh. Using the edit top 200 interface, I just select the entire row by clicking the leftmost pane. And then I'm just going to press the delete button on my keyboard. And then I'll just say, yes, I want to permanently remove Jody McIntosh. Notice I got no errors. And then if I go back to my enrollments and I execute a select star again, you'll see that there are no more records for Jody McIntosh. So that's the power of a trigger. On a certain event, I want to carry out a certain action. And so my trigger is really in the background, just, executing. I'm just doing the light work, and the trigger can be in the back doing the heavy lifting after the fact. So I'm going to encourage you, just try out a few triggers. Try to modify the design accordingly to support the trigger. Once again, if you're doing anything to modify data, especially with relationships, then you need to go back to the design of that foreign key relationship and change how it behaves on delete and update.